Hey everybody! So breaking the 180 here. We're doing a little review, catching up with stuff that's coming up, and well, tonight we went a little avant-garde to say the least. We just did a preview screening of I Saw the TV Glow, and this review might actually turn out to be a bit divisive, against the grain, because the film premiered at Sundance. It's getting some interesting commentary out there on the cybersphere. However, we really couldn't get into its glow, to say the least.
To say the least. Look, it's hard making movies.
Yeah.
It's hard making a movie, and especially if you want to get abstract and you want to be David Lynch, you need to understand what makes a David Lynch movie good. And yeah, he has weird stuff, but they mean something and he's consistent with the dream logic. This movie is awful. It's awful. I'll see try to break the ice kind of nicely, but there's a kernel of some interesting ideas, but
Yeah.
this director just decided let's go so abstract that
Well,
the ideas don't even connect.
well, to recap a bit, it starts off it starts off interestingly. It stars Justice Smith as this very reserved, quiet fellow.
Maybe on the Asperger's scale or
uh,
autism
a
scale.
bit
I don't know exactly what the terms are, which
like he
was
sees spectrum, I guess, right? It's
yeah,
like
spectrum, which was
and so
good
yeah,
actually. So yeah, we'll
that
start
was
off there.
interesting.
There are a few nice elements in there. That was good. He was portrayed in a good way.
And so he makes friends as a as an adolescent with a girl at school who watches a and to put it into better context, it starts in 1996. So she's a fan of a show called the Pinko Pak, which is designed to look like a hybrid of those 90s TV shows like Buffy the Vampire
Or Mary
Slayer,
Kate and Ashley.
yeah, Charmed, the X Files, but all put
Well, not
together.
the X Files.
Well, the theme music that plays when he walks into the room, but yes,
You're stretching.
but definitely in that whole. For those of you who remember what used to be like the CW back then, it's like the kind of stuff that would air uh, on those kinds of channels back in the day. Uh, so it starts off as this interesting take on the kind of shows that would obsess young people back then with that, and eerie shows, right? Shows that when you watch them as a child seem very strange and eerie and
Well,
um
they haunt your nightmares,
yeah,
right? And you kind of think that they're going to form a bond and that's going to be the story, right? I would say maybe the first 20
yeah.
minutes.
Well, and how you become such a fan that the show essentially defines you. It becomes
Yeah.
the things we love in pop culture end up becoming a part of us. The same way, I don't know, music you discovered when you were 14 or 15 kind of stays with you forever, and that was cool. That was interesting.
However,
But
that's not
then
where the film goes at all. The
it
first 20 minutes, like a stable foundation.
yeah, but then it
The
just
next hour
yeah.
and 28 minutes were just, I mean, it was nonsense. It was such nonsense.
Well, the director's this well, she got to start producing shorts and documentaries, and I was directing Jane Schoenbrunn. Actually, it's a they. They're uh, gender nonconforming, but so Jane Schoenbrunn made their debut. Well, their big festival splash was in 2021 with an equally weird movie called "We're All Going to the World's Fair," which was much lower budget. This is actually their first film with A24, so now they have a bigger budget, more access, but it seems like, yeah, they're trying to do the Lynch thing where you start off with what seems like a clear idea, but then it becomes like a really incoherent
But look,
kind of
I think
dreamscape
what we
thing.
need
Yeah.
to highlight is people who think they can do Lynch or Buñuel
Yeah.
and they fail at it because they think that what makes those guys so talented is the weirdness.
Yeah, like and
What makes their
yeah.
weirdness special is the thought and the heart and the
Yeah.
real, I don't know, pathos from it.
Yeah, and
And this is just trying to copy those elements, and it's such a mess.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that, everyone can get an Alexa camera. You can find a DP to, get a shallow focus with some nice colorful lights. And I think that obfuscates a total, total mess.
Well, the thing about Lynch and Buñuel that's important is also that well, they kind of set the rules of how they're playing from the beginning.
Good point. It's
Th-
consistent.
this one starts off as one thing before totally tripping out into this surreal mess, really, where all of a sudden Justice Smith is watching a tape of the show, but then it seems like his head is in the shattered TV screen and he starts spewing sparks into the shower. But why?
And you get to another point, right? If you're going to use the TV and the TV show as an allegory, right? Let's say if these characters project onto the characters in the TV show as an allegory for, gender identity,
Yeah.
gender nonconformity, or abuse, you need to make that connection clear.
Yes, the allegories need to be very clear. I've
And
seen,
yeah, you can still be abstract, but you need to, again, be consistent with your rules.
yeah, I think this is the kind of movie that what's going to happen is a lot of supporters of the film will probably just, I don't know, apply whatever collegial language they absorbed in college without the director's input necessarily, and they'll just kind of draw conclusions from the vagueness of what is going
Well,
on here.
it's not drawing conclusions. I would argue that they will project
Yes,
into the film instead of extracting what little there is in the text of the film,
like what the film's
the
actually
subtext.
doing. Yeah, well, again, actually, I don't know if there's any way to really spoil this movie, but for example, there's a lot of hallucinatory imagery that's just very stream of consciousness, but the without the things that tether it together, like in a Lynch film. Justice Smith will cut himself open, and apparently he's got a glowing TV screen inside, or
Or you'll break the fourth wall,
yeah,
or they'll splice in maybe a memory or a
yeah,
false memory,
and
and then this his friend just disappears and then reappears,
and
and
then
then
it just ends abruptly. Like it's one of those movies that just cuts, just ends on
and
a bizarre
you know
note.
what's interesting? I loved Beau is Afraid, and I think you liked elements, but you weren't the biggest fan.
I like the film. But I wasn't. I like the film, I just didn't. It wouldn't make my top 10 of the
Right,
year. Let's say,
but
yeah,
I think you might get where I'm going with this. The reason I
yeah.
bring up Beau is Afraid is a weird abstract film, but the abstract ideas and the weirdness play into the characters' extreme fear and anxiety
Mommy issues, and
and mommy issues.
yeah, yeah.
They all stem from that. And
Actually,
you may not agree, you may find it that it's over the top, but at least you're like, okay, I get what Ari Aster's doing, but I may disagree
well,
with how it's presented.
you get what he's getting across. You get what personal experiences are influencing the surreal imagery. I mean, in fact, he's now producing the new Guy Madden movie that's premiering at Cannes this year. Guy Madden, who's another director in the league of Lynch and these filmmakers we're mentioning, who they know how to use the okay. It's a good way to put it is they know how to use dream logic. And this movie, instead of successfully using dream logic, really just kind of becomes pretentious and overly stuffed. It a lot of
Like a
monologues.
student film.
Yes, monologues take place that kind of have no point for existing. The film
Yeah, I
looks
think you're thinking about the one at the end in particular.
yes,
That it's
like
supposed to be this big emotional thing that means nothing, that doesn't lead to anything.
I'm guessing the point is that his friend, not even Spectrum, I guess his friend, and again, sorry if I'm butchering the the terminology here. I'm not an expert, but in her case, maybe in her case, the problem has more to do with mental health, like serious mental health
That's what.
issues.
Oh,
That's
it's the
kind of
spooky TV.
yeah,
Yeah, that's. I was. We were talking
yeah.
about that. I was thinking that maybe she might have some severe mental illness.
Because yeah, the movie kind of plays with this idea that she starts to believe the show is real. That the show that they've both been, this Pinko Pock show that they've been obsessed with, might actually be another realm or something that exists out there that she was somehow able to tap into. Um, but the movie isn't necessarily clear on whether I'm gearing towards the director concluding that this character simply has a mental health crisis and is imagining all this. Um, but as for Justice Smith, yeah, what is did he just throw his life away because he's been obsessed with this show all
Yeah,
his life? I
especially
don't
at the end.
really what.
Also, he's supposed to be roughly 40 at the end, but he acts as if he's 86.
Yeah, yeah, the time. Well, because well,
Also, he's in seventh grade, is a different
yeah,
actor, and then it cuts to 2 years later, and then he's
and
a
he's Justice Smith,
20-year-old Justice Smith.
and he's Justice Smith. Yeah, like
I,
that was that
look,
was yeah, that
there
was weird.
can be some good ideas in there, but you have to go to the drawing board and really figure out how you're going to make these abstract ideas and mesh and weave in your allegories so it makes sense. First of all, so it makes sense, and two, develop them so you can tie it into a drama between these two, you know, let's say outcasts because they're in high school for a bit, and how their lives deviate and then how they come together and or something.
Hopefully, this director's next effort is who knows? Maybe it's a little more streamlined. I was kind of reminded tonight of the experience I had 3 years ago with this movie called Saint Maud by Rose Glass, which was touted as this really stunning debut. I thought it was just a lot of very well done shots with no real strength to the script. And this year she made Love Lies Bleeding, so
Which I heard is quite good.
pretty good. So maybe this is just Schönbrunn gearing up to do something stronger.
That's a
We'll
very
see.
positive outlook. But
I mean,
although, you know
they're
what?
talented.
I will say
They're
we got a
talented.
good chuckle. We got a good chuckle.
Yeah.
One of the best scenes in the movie. It might just be something I quote from now on. There's a scene of Justice Smith's coworker getting a little honky honk, and he opens the door. He opens the door, and he goes, "What the fuck?"
It's the strangest scene of oral copulation you'll
It
see
was
all year.
genuinely funny.
See that part? And see, I thought the movie, and I the scene is actually well directed, and I thought we'd get more moments like that as the movie would progress. Like, oh, this is going to become like some kind of wild
That felt,
trip.
you see, that felt Lynchian in the best way.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, this is going to be some wild trip into the subconscious of these characters and the show, or the show they're obsessed with. Actually, I wanted the director to play more with that idea of evoking the aesthetic of 90s TV shows, those TV shows that so many of us remember watching as children. That was nice. That was cool when the movie would take you back to that. And how, yeah, it's true, some of those shows, I mean, yeah, the things you watch when you're a child can feel genuinely strange. But then, yeah, instead of following that thread, I mean, I've read that, we were actually just reading that the movie apparently has themes of uh, queerness and uh, gender, and uh, also the also transitioning. But I feel that's critics projecting, as you were saying, projecting conclusions onto the film, as opposed to the film strongly getting that across
Yes, we
lucidly.
talk
Yeah,
about this all the time.
yeah,
It has to be in the movie.
yeah,
Ambiguity, we always use Tarkovsky as a
yeah,
great example. His themes are in the movie.
yeah.
What we get out of it, that's an interpretation from what we see in the movie. What happens a lot, and we've talked about this even privately all the time, a lot of times people are projecting their own feelings into movies
And
where they're not shown
yeah,
properly. Just because you get a glimpse of something, that doesn't mean that's what the movie's about. And if it is, then as a director, you didn't do a good job making your movie about that.
I'll just close by saying that if you really want to see a great film about gender nonconformity, check out Orlando from the '90s with Tilda Swinton. It's based on a Virginia Woolf novel, and that's a good one to catch uh, in general, or after you've watched. If you went to go see, I saw the TV Glow. Well, everybody, that's our take on this strange, to say the least, new A24
I'm gonna
film.
come out and say I think it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I like I
I
know
would say disappointing, because for me, and we I think you agree with me on this. The first 5 minutes were cool, and then
the
it,
first
it
10 minutes
yeah.
they had good character moments, but then it just went completely to hell.
And I consider that even worse than bad. The disappointing when you're like, oh, there was something
Yeah.
there, and you
Look, we
wow,
hated Expendables 4, but that's because
yeah,
of what it stood for the industry.
yeah,
This is just this, and honestly, this might be even more insulting than when we
yeah.
said to Expendables 4. This is a bad student film.
Yeah,
This is a
this is
bad student film. And look, we spent, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes here in the car just trying to find some information about the film because maybe we missed something, but
I no I it's one of those where there's really nothing more to say than that. It's just very, very disappointing. Uh, but what wasn't disappointing was Civil War. So if you're watching this, um, it also means our episode on Alex Garland Civil War is out now. So please go check that out. Jump into the discussion on YouTube or Apple Podcasts. Uh, Throw us your comments, whether you
oh,
agree or disagree. Oh, the glow.
the glow. It's
The
it's the non-existent existent TV ghost
TV go.
for the
So
third time. But anyway,
check that out. And also, as always, remember to hit up Purest Mushrooms at purestmushrooms.com to get a 10% discount on any individual packets of their dietary supplement, which comes in various flavors, which you can get a 10% discount on as long as you use our code breaking180 at checkout
yes.
purestmushrooms.com.
But until then, keep thinking critically and enjoying movies, everyone.
Just not this one.